Hello, welcome back everyone. Hope you've had a good lunch. You're now sitting comfortably for a very exciting session. I've just been backstage with the 9 finalists who are excited and nervous. They've flown all the way here. They've got about 5 minutes each to make their pitch, which you will listen to, and they are going to take part in the EIT Health Catapult as the best of the best business plans in the categories of medtech, biotech and digital health. And they're going to be selected by a panel of globally renowned healthcare experts and investors. So I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of EIT's Director of Business, Kurt Holler, or otherwise known as Mr. Catapult himself. Kurt, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to start here. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to be back again on a real stage with a real audience. Just a few questions also to see if you're already back mentally after lunch or if you're already falling asleep. Who of you guys has already attended the finals of the EIT Health Catapult in the previous years? Who did not attend so far? Okay, that's a majority. So please be prepared for a great thing. Second question, who arrived here in time with their flights? Who did not have any trouble? Who did have trouble? So I also had a lot of trouble. I took a European detour with three hubs because one thing happened. People are, and also companies are not used to pre-COVID times anymore. So it really takes some time to get back. And second, business models are sometimes slow. And it takes them a long time to adapt. And that's what's different with these gentlemen and ladies. These ladies and gentlemen change it totally through their disruptive ideas. So I'd like to thank, first of all, the startups, but also the jury members. I hope you all have plugged in your computers in order to have enough energy to survive the session. That's important. I'd like to just share a few insights. First, 7 years of successful pitches at the EIT Health Catapult. We had a couple of success stories like Phargomate, who was acquired just after that session, just after they have been one of the winners of the Health Catapult by BioNTech. And I can admit that EIT Health is still benefiting from the success fee that we get out of them from their Gold Track participation, another great program. Second great story is Sparing Vision. You can see Florence, she was pitching in Paris in person, and then just shortly after, she was able to attract 44.5 million euro with that company. 7 editions, 231 companies. And these 231 companies out of 47 countries. So it's really a truly European and pan-European competition. They raised 550 million euro. And they had the opportunity here at the summit to meet 3,500 health professionals and 450 investors. How does the Catapult work? We have regional selections. And that is super important because our regional teams, they know their local ecosystems, they know how to approach good companies, and they know which regional competitions are the right sources for good candidates. And then we take the 2 winners from each regional selection into European semifinals. We have 3 semifinals: biotech, medtech, and digital health. So if you do the math, we have 7 hubs so far. In the future, it will be 8 with Austria, but so far it was 7, and the top winners went to the semifinals. That's 14, and we have 3 categories. That's 42. And in the semifinals, we already start introducing the startups to investors at the semi-final pitches. We start with the super mentoring, and all of you benefited from your super mentors. That's one person that dedicates all time and effort to this one company, in addition to all the topic-specific mentors that we have on top. And then, and that's where we are now, the winners of the semifinals go to the EIT Health Summit. And there, we already did a pre-competition. We have the lucky 9 who are pitching here live on stage for the prize money. And we have another 12 companies. You should be ready to visit them. They have a poster exhibition out there in the first floor, actually second floor. You should be ready to visit them because they also made it through the whole journey. What's the benefits? Of course, it's the prize money. That's always nice. But it's also a lot more. We have the sponsor prizes. That's additional in-kind prizes that come on top. You have the 360-degree mentoring, including the super mentoring. You have great connections and networking opportunities here at the summit, at the semifinals, and also after. You get part of the EIT Health family if you are not already part of one of our programs. You're part of that great community of trust. And last but not least, visibility and credibility. So we will do our best to promote your success story, and we will be ambassadors of your solution and products. The prices, of course, I just mentioned that. It's not super much. You cannot finance your company with that, but I think it's a nice recognition, and you also can do some fun stuff. It's not linked to projects like always at EIT Health. Usually you have to do projects. That money can be used also for nice things that you wanted to do with your teams. 40,000 euro for the first winner, 30,000 euro for the second, and 20 for the third prize, and that for all 3 categories. So significant amount of prizes. And on top, I just mentioned that we have the sponsor in-kind prizes. So we have Amazon Web Services, AstraZeneca, EG Technology, Luciadas, McDermott, Will and Emery, Merck, and Nasdaq. They all provide in-kind prizes and in-kind services to the winners. If anyone here in the room, especially the industry representatives, but maybe also someone else, if you're interested to get part of that club, of the EIT Health Prize Alliance 2022, so that's the 2022 edition, is those companies that will have finals then in 2023. So you still can join that. We just started with the regional selection. The semifinals will be later in the year. Those of you who want to be part of that Prize Alliance, please just let us know, join the club, and you can also talk to those who are already members of the Prize Alliance. Then I'd like to highlight and point out the Alex Custer Audience Award. This is very, very important to us. We started already in the first year, in the first edition in 2016, in Barcelona with that prize where people had or could really vote for their favorites. And then this was handed over to the Audience Award winner. Back then we had more companies pitching on stage, all the 21. Now it's restricted only to the 9 that you can see here today. The poster editions unfortunately are not part of the Audience Award, but nevertheless, please make use of that amazing opportunity. Use Slido and enter hashtag Catapult Award, and that will be just open 15 minutes after the session has closed. And what's the prize? It's a lot of visibility, not just here and not just in our community, also a lot of visibility at the Nasdaq Tower at the New York Times Square. Thanks again also to our partner Nasdaq for providing that opportunity to display the logo of the winning company at the New York Times Square. Most probably hardly any one of you will be there in New York when it will be displayed, but the pictures, the photos are incredibly valuable. Maybe you also want to travel there. That's up to you guys and your plans. I also would like to thank all the Catapult jury members. There's lots of good friends in the meantime that we had all together. Anish, for example, together with Torsten, they have also set up the Neurotech Prize together with Biogen and EIT Health. Similar format, at least at the finals, the preparation phase is slightly different. open innovation. That's how it's called with us, with EIT Health. If someone is interested to start one of these open innovation programs, just let us know. And I'd like to also highlight Matthias Zach, one of the jury members from Roche. And we are together now also starting the Bits and Pretzels event next month in Munich, a huge event with more than 1,000 entrepreneurs and investors at the Munich Conference Center. So very much looking forward to that. Thanks to all the cheer members for being part of the game. And last but not least, also big thanks to the Catapult team. As you know, EIT Health Catapult is partner-led and partner-driven. Cap Digital, represented by Anna and Julia. Medical Valley, represented by Jonas. And BioN, represented by Aranja. Thank you so much for your great contribution, for your great support. Now just taking a step back, 2019. 2019 was the last real physical Catapult Finals. And Jean-Marc, our CEO, managed to get 1,000 participants into the Palais Brongniart. Startups were able to pitch there in front of a full audience. And then we had the awarding ceremony at the City Hall, at the Town Hall of the City of Paris. Really an outstanding event and the last one in a long series of events. And then a year later, that was the stage. No audience. Not even the moderator was at the same stage like I. We were in 2 different studios in 2 different countries, and we had to take in all the companies remotely. So you can imagine how exciting the feedback from the crowd was. There was none. I just had a smiley at the wall where I had to look at. So it was really a totally weird situation, but we also managed to do that. Now, looking to that slide, I also want to say a few words on the people that are there. The person on the left, Niklas Holmberg, is the one who started the collaboration with EIT Health and made sure that we could use the Nasdaq tower at New York Times Square. But when he dedicated that the first time, he did not know that this prize would be so important and so significant. Because the second person on the left, Christina, her husband was part of our jury, and her husband died during that session, during that very session at the summit. It was a horrible experience for all of us, but it was an even heavier event for Christina and her kids. And therefore, we are more than happy that she's coming to the EIT Health Summit every year to do the award of this audience award. And it reminds us that we are doing that not for money, not for visibility, not for having a great business model. We are doing that to have impact on society. We are doing that to save life of people. And I think that's a great reminder to all of us, to our family here at EIT Health, the purpose, the mission for what we are doing. So please keep that in mind when you vote for the Alex Custer Audience Award. Alex Custer, that was the husband of Christina. And with that, I'd like to come back. Now we are here, live on stage again. We're here at the EIT Health Summit and the Health Catapult Finals in Stockholm. And with that, we will move over to the final pitches. Everyone has exactly 5 minutes sharp. There's a clock. You practice that, you know how to watch the clock. I hope I don't have to push you away from the microphone. I hope you all will finish at 5 minutes sharp. There is no Q&A. That has already happened in internal jury sessions. So the jury knows the startups. No Q&A here. And we will start with the biotech category. For the biotech category, we will have 3 companies: Oana Medicines from Spain, Cydros from France, Solascure from England. Each one 5 minutes. And for Oana Medicines, they create antibody medicines to force drug resistance, cancer stem cells to permanently grow old and inactive in order to stop spreading cancer. I'd like to ask Nathan Lobo from San Sebastián, Spain, to come on stage and pitch. Nathan, The floor is yours.
So thank you, EIT Health, for allowing me to present Oneida Medicines today. As the presenter said, we are a biotechnology company from San Sebastian in Spain, and we're really a biologics company with a proprietary artificial intelligence platform that aims to treat refractory and metastatic cancer patients. So let's discuss for a moment the unmet need in cancer. Right now, if you walk into your oncologist's office and you have a diagnosis with cancer, 2/3 of the time, whatever treatment you get isn't going to work. And even if it does work, about half the time, you're going to have to go back to the doctor's office for further treatment. So most cancer companies are looking inside of cancer cells and asking, well, what makes the cancer cells grow out of control? In contrast, Oneida Medicines looks outside of cancer cells, and we ask, what do cancer cells need to survive? During my time at Stanford University with my co-founder, Miter, we discovered the existence of a powerful set of growth factors called dual SMAD inhibiting proteins, or DSIPs for short. And what DSIPs do is they're made by cancer cells to self-program themselves to stay young. Our antibody medications interrupt DSIP signaling, allowing cancer cells to receive cell death signals from their environment. So we imagine the patient journey that a patient with refractory and metastatic cancer walks in the clinic and gets one of our anti-DSIP neutralizing antibody medicines, and over time, those cancer cells get reprogrammed until eventually the tumor is extinguished. So we've built an artificial intelligence platform that directly connects antibody design to DSIP neutralization. We have a set of proprietary genetic sensors that allows us to rapidly discover new DSIP drug targets, of which we've found 4 and counting, and we match those to clinical indications in which we believe the DSIP is driving the pathology of the disease. We then use state-of-the-art artificial intelligence tools like deep learning and machine learning to design millions of antibodies on a computer, and then derive only the best dozens or so that we then go and manufacture in our labs in San Sebastian and evaluate them for their potential to neutralize any DSIP of our choice. We then take the best 1 to 3 candidates and advance those into preclinical animal studies. So with that strategy, we have a growing pipeline of antibody drug programs, the lead of which is OMED1, which is an antibody drug that neutralizes the prototypical DSIPs lefty1 and lefty2. We have a strong IP position to cover the OMED1 program with a proprietary filing from Oneida Medicines that covers OMED1 and its structure and function in diagnostic and therapeutic applications. We also have an exclusive IP license from the foundational IP from Stanford. So here's a snapshot of some of the proof of concept data that we've generated with the OMED1 program so far. Of course, I can't go through all of this in depth with you, but OMED1 has been shown to neutralize the growth of, for example, highly aggressive triple-negative breast cancer cells, colorectal cancer cells, and even the most malignant brain cancer cells, and it complements the standard of care that's administered in the clinic today. Also, OMED1 has sub-10 nanomolar potency, making it a drug-like molecule. Our current clinical focus is colorectal cancer, where we think OMED1 alone can achieve potentially a $1 billion opportunity. So compared to other companies in the cellular reprogramming space, we're a little bit different. The field is hot, as evidenced by the recent deals on your screen and in front of you, but we stand out in 3 different ways. Number 1, we have an elegant platform that I described to you that delivers value today and far into the future. We also have a growing pipeline of novel antibody programs that all modulate clinically validated mechanisms like cellular suicide that have been well proven to control cancer in the clinic. We have designed a fundraising and exit strategy built off of inflection value-driven milestones. And the concept here is we're trying to raise a Series A over the next year to fund OMED1's progress into proof of concept phase 2 clinical trials, and then with our other backup programs through drug discovery. We have a fantastic team of drug discovery veterans that are complemented by business experts and knowledge leaders in the field from all over the world. So I invite you all, come join our mission. I think Oneida Medicines is really a different opportunity to bring new medicines to treat cancer patients into the clinic. We've been recognized by both dilutive and non-dilutive funding, and I'm proud to say that we won the 2021 base launch competition with investors like Roche, CSL Behring, and Johnson & Johnson on our cap table. So thank you so much, EIT Health, and thank you, Merck, for awarding Onena the Emerging Biotech Prize and helping advance OMED1 to the clinic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nathan. That was absolutely to the point. Now I'd like to welcome Cydros. Cydros is developing small molecules targeting iron metabolism to fight cancer. Another company, startup fighting cancer, which is a big burden nowadays, as you all know. Welcome to Lucie Mandolet from Roubaix in France. Welcome.
So, hello everyone, it's a great pleasure to be here to present you Cydros. So I'm Lucie Mandolet, the CEO of the company. So let's talk about iron to fight resistance in cancer. Despite innovation in cancer treatment, there are still 10 million cancer deaths in 2020. And if we do not bring any disruptive solutions, that number will increase up to 16 million in 2040. But why are we faced with that issue? It's because of cells named persistent cancer cells, which are not eliminated by conventional therapies, leading to relapse and metastasis. But how do they resist and escape conventional therapies? It's because of iron, and this is a breakthrough discovery of our co-founder. Iron is a fuel for the cells, for persistent cancer cells, helping them to modify their phenotype and survive, leading them to escape conventional therapies. That discovery is now recognized by the scientific community. And at Cydros, we have the solution. It's ironomycin. It's a small molecule which can bind to iron by its specific radical here in orange. How it works? Ironomycin diffuses into the cells, reaches the lysosome where it can sequester iron. By sequestering iron in lysosome, it deprives the cells from iron on all other compartments, so the cells could not use its fuel anymore, leading to its death. Our first-in-class molecule has shown its efficacy in a PDX mouse model, showing that when we treat tumor cells with ironomycin and reimplant it to new animals, relapse does not appear anymore because persistent cancer cells are eliminated. Docetaxel, a standard of care, fails to prevent relapse. The conclusion is clear. Ironomycin should be used in combination to standard of care in order to eliminate the whole tumor. Ironomycin is efficacious in a large range of indications in solid and liquid tumors, as shown here through the different collaborations that we have established. Of importance, no toxic effects have been observed on healthy cells at the concentration needed to eliminate tumor cells. In order to support the clinical development of our molecules, we have developed a biomarker based on the expression of genes involved in iron metabolism. That biomarker can predict patients at risk of relapse at diagnosis when iron genes are highly expressed. Our IP is secured, backed by 5 patents exclusively licensed to the company, granted in 4 big areas and with the freedom to operate. We set up a clear clinical development plan with the first clinical trial in non-Hodgkin lymphoma with an expansion cohort leading to get proof of concept data in 2025, a clear inflection point for the company. Then we will open phase 1b/2a in solid tumors. Our biomarker will be assessed through all the clinical development plan. Of interest, 3 pharma will be opened to discuss of partnership when we will be in phase 1. Our large preclinical pipeline can open a large market opportunity, over €1 billion in each indication. Our company is managed by experienced people coming from biotech and pharma to bring our molecules from bench to the market. We have already raised 1 million euros to be where we are today, so with a technical batch in hands and its preclinical validation. And now we are looking for a 10 million Series A to perform development activity, start regulatory discussions with FDA and EMA, launch the first clinical trial, and structure the company. So now it's your opportunity to join us, because the future of patients suffering from resistance in cancer is iron-based.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lucy. You even saved 30 minutes. That's very good. That's for you guys for the break later on. Next company is SolarScure, and they have a product, Always. It's a hydrogel for faster wound cleaning. And I'd like to ask to come on stage Celia Harrison from Cambridge, UK. The floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Celia Harrison, Chief of Staff with SolarScure, where we're seeking to revolutionize wound care through the use of biomimicry, bringing nature's solution to patients. Chronic wounds represent a huge unmet medical need. But what is a chronic wound? These are not your average blisters. These are huge, festering wounds, and I apologize for these pictures after lunch. But they're tremendously painful, incredibly smelly, and have a detrimental impact on quality of life of those suffering from them. Because there are so few effective treatment solutions for these wounds, they can stay open in many cases for years, leading to a very high burden on healthcare systems and expenditure. And with many millions suffering from these in the EU and beyond, the prevalence is only set to increase with rising rates of obesity and aging. And I think to put the scale of this problem into context, it's worth pointing out that the 5-year mortality rate of those suffering from diabetic foot ulcers is comparable with those suffering from cancer, but this issue receives just a fraction of the attention and funding for research. Now, for millennia, maggots have been widely considered as the best way to clean a chronic wound in preparation for it to heal. They're highly effective and optimized by evolution to break down the fibrin networks in wound debris in a highly targeted fashion. In addition, they're safe for their hosts. But come on, who wants to have a living maggot placed on them, even in a controlled clinical setting? They're logistically complex, they're expensive, and absolutely repulsive for patients and clinicians alike. Now at SolarScure, we're developing Always wound gel, seeking to bring the power of maggots to patients without the maggots themselves. We've isolated and cloned the enzyme in maggot saliva responsible for breaking down the necrotic tissue and combined it with a basic hydrogel for use at the patient bedside, either in a home care or a hospital setting, aiming to bring the benefits of maggot therapy to patients without the disadvantages. We have a very strong IP position with a patent on the enzyme in medical settings, in addition to a patent on the method of production, meaning we can produce up to 10 times more effectively than someone without this IP. We've also checked our freedom to operate with no issues. According to independent third-party market analysis, the market potential for Always is huge. And even if we take a modest market share, we estimate potential revenues of between $600 million and $1 billion by 2030. Now, compared to other treatments available, maggot therapy currently is the only treatment that is both effective and safe for cleaning chronic wounds. However, with Always wound gel, which is still in development, we aim to tick all the boxes. Most importantly, safety and efficacy, but also to be pain-free, which is a major distinguishing factor in this market, have a more favorable psychological impact profile, have a lower cost of care, and greater ease of logistics. At the moment, we're raising our Series B financing round in order to fund our phase 2A trial and also do some formula optimization work through the use of spray-dry techniques to increase the product stability. We've managed to close 5 million through our existing investor base, including VCs and strategics, and now we're raising 6 million from any new investors to come in at the same terms. But where are we in our clinical development plan? So we have completed comprehensive toxicology, preclinical testing, and have approval to proceed with a clinical trial from the FDA, MHRA, and Hungarian regulators. We're in the midst of our phase 2A trial, and we've treated our first patient with no safety signals. We expect to have data available from the clinical study at the end of this year, showing proof of concept, hopefully, that always works in humans, at which point we expect a major valuation uptick at the end of the year, potentially towards an exit opportunity at a favorable price, and if not, we'll look towards another exit opportunity after the phase 2B. So the message here for any of you keen investors in the room is that SolisCure represents a great opportunity to invest in a clinical stage company with potential for valuation uptick of as much as 10 times at the end of this year. As you would expect, we've attracted notable market interest from some of the biggest companies in the wound care space in our innovation. I don't have time to go through the full team here, but they're highly experienced across key competencies. We're also very fortunate to have some of the largest names in wound care on our board and advisors, and they're very involved in the day-to-day of the business, and many of them are invested. So in summary, SolisCure represents an opportunity to invest in a phase 2A asset with expected clinical data at the end of this year, proven record negotiating with regulators, and hoping to address a major unmet medical need. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Celia, for a great presentation. And you might have seen that, especially in biotech, we usually have more science-heavy slides, especially the first two. Now we are coming to the area that I'm originally stemming from, to MedTech, and then later on also digital health. For MedTech, we will hear 3 companies: Lyko from Spain, Luminate Medical from Ireland, and ThinkSono from Germany. And we will start with Lyko. Lyko is developing PointCheck, which is the world's first device that can monitor white blood cells non-invasively. And for that, I'd like to invite from Spain, but you're actually Swiss, as you told me, Aurélien Burkhardt. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. So I'm really sorry to start with bad news, but half of us will get cancer or know a close relative affected by it. Sadly, 25,000 cancer patients die from infections every year as a side effect of chemotherapy. The good news is that the device we're developing, PointCheck, can save these lives by monitoring the patient's white cells daily from home and without drawing a single drop of blood. Today, blood draws are needed to measure white cells. This is what limits the frequency of monitoring. Furthermore, this also constrains patients to do trips to the hospital. Here is why the clinical routine needs to be changed. In chemotherapy, low white cells is a common side effect and the root cause of life-threatening infections. This leads to poor clinical outcomes for patients and a huge uncertainty for them and their family. Furthermore, this leads to a huge economic burden for the healthcare system due to hospitalizations of more than 10 billion per year and more than 25,000 deaths in Europe and in the US alone. Today, only 2 measurements are made in a chemotherapy cycle. And what's in between, nobody knows. So basically, patients and doctors are in the dark in between, and patients can get low white cell levels and catch infections due to lack of monitoring. But this situation can improve thanks to our product. With PointCheck, we can make daily measurements and catch drops in white blood cell levels before infections occur, allowing for the medical team to know about the status of the patient and intervene accordingly before an infection occurs. This is why more than 100 KOLs validated our value proposition and are willing to adopt our technology. We also have several recognitions and awards across the Atlantic from industry associations and innovation hubs. So, how does our product work? What PointCheck does is to do non-invasive imaging using an optical microscope instead of blood draws. The patient inserts the finger into the device, and a result is produced in 1 minute and communicated to the clinical team, which then can intervene before an infection occurs. Our technology is protected by several patents. PointCheck uses an optical microscope to image capillaries through the skin, as you can see in the near-field area on the right of the picture. These images contain capillaries that are easy to see. What PointCheck does is to look at these images and count the white cells that go through the capillaries. As you can see below, the white blood cells flow through the capillaries and show as transparent gaps. And it's not just a concept. We have clinically proved our technology and shown compliance, sensitivity, and specificity to detect severe neutropenia. We have a sizable market of more than 6 billion, corresponding to more than 2 million patients in Europe and in the US. Our B2B value proposition is based on the 50% savings we'll make by avoiding hospital readmissions. Our business model is based on our business model targets financially at risk insurers and healthcare providers. And PointCheck is based on a subscription model whose cost is in line with existing devices, such as glucometers. We have ambitious but realistic milestones. In stage 1, we proved feasibility. In stage 2, we are finalizing industrialization in view of regulatory clearance. In stage 3, we will get regulatory clearance and launch our product to the market. All of this is possible thanks to a committed core team of co-founders and entrepreneurs who have multidisciplinary background, which is also complemented by a strong board of directors and an experienced board of advisors with experience in several different fields that are complementary. Please help us save 25,000 lives per year by supporting our vision, and also happy to talk after this presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Aurélien. Thank you so much. Yeah, please let the microphone here. We will need that for the next pitch. The next pitch, Luminate Medical. Luminate is managing off-target drug delivery to prevent chemotherapy-induced hair loss. And we will hear the pitch from Barbara Oliveira from Galway, Ireland. Great region. Thanks. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Barbara. I'm a co-founder at Luminate Medical, and we are ending hair loss for chemotherapy patients. So the whole world knows that sudden hair loss means cancer, but millions of cancer patients wish that wasn't the case. We've heard this from hundreds of cancer patients whom we've spoken to, but there's one story that always sticks with us, and that's from a young mother with breast cancer. And she wished to keep her hair, but it wasn't even for her. It was so that her kids thought that she was okay. So hair loss really is a massive need, and it's why we've been laser focused on developing Lily. Lily is our solution to help patients keep their hair and improve their psychosocial outcomes when going through chemo. So Lily is a pain-free cap-like unit worn by patients during and after chemo. And because it's portable, it critically allows patients to leave the hospital once chemo has finished. So our Lily device uses our patent-protected localized microvascular compression therapy, which essentially works by reducing the blood flow and drug delivery to the scalp, meaning that less hair follicles are destroyed by the chemo and patients get to preserve their hair. So we've proved that our therapy works in animals, and you can see that the only place these animals retained hair are in the 2 green areas where we applied our therapy. We've also shown that our therapy works in healthy humans, where we obtained a far greater and much more reliable reduction in blood flow when compared to the predicates in the market. But let me tell you about this market and tell you that 3 million cancer patients every year in the US and Europe alone get chemo that causes hair loss, and this represents a total market opportunity of 3.9 billion euro. What's a bit more astonishing, though, is that 84% of these patients are already spending about €1,000 out of pocket on average on wigs, even though wigs don't prevent the trauma of hair loss. So we have wigs, and we also have some preventative solutions in the market. These appear in the form of scalp cooling, but scalp cooling is super painful. It doesn't work reliably across different ethnicities, and because it's not portable, patients end up costing additional time to the clinic. So really, the existing solutions don't meet patient needs. And what we're doing to change that is to propose a new business model where we reach the patients first. So we will operate sales through oncologist referrals. We will then deliver the devices direct to the patients, and the patients can operate the devices independently in the clinic. It's worth noting, though, that the time to act on this is now, because wigs are already reimbursed by the majority of insurers, and the preventative solutions I spoke about have received their first Class 3 CPT code last summer. Now, obviously, we have an amazing team, but what you need to know about our team is that we have built medical devices before, we've run clinical trials for cancer patients, and we have sold direct-to-consumer medical devices before as well. And combined, we have been involved in 3 medtech exits to date with a combined valuation of over 250 million euro. So I just want to end by giving you an overview of our timeline and tell you that after the successful completion of our animal and healthy volunteer studies, we closed the 5 million euro seed round, and we're now moving swiftly along to our 12-patient pilot study later this year. And after this, we're progressing through to raising a Series A and obtaining 510(k) clearance to market in the US. So finally, we've had really strong traction to date. We've been supported by Y Combinator, Peter Thiel, Enterprise Ireland, and even EIT Health, where we were named the 2019 Crash Barcelona Accelerator winners. So we feel quite at home here. And finally, I want to end by telling you that we're a team with a transformative ambition to transform the patient experience of cancer, because we acknowledge that life is about more than just surviving, life is about living, and we want you to join us in that mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you so much, Barbara, for a very impressive pitch. Thank you. The next one, and the last one in the MedTech category, is ThinkSono. ThinkSono is an ultrasound company, and they use their algorithms to develop software for automatic detection of deep vein thrombosis. And I'd like to ask Fuad Al-Nur from Potsdam, Germany, to come on stage and present. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I hope you feel good today. So I want to talk about ultrasound. In fact, I want to talk about democratizing ultrasound. It's the most versatile medical imaging technology in the world, and currently only a specialist, like a radiologist or sonographer, has access to this technology. And with our software, we're able to democratize it so a nurse or a junior doctor or your GP can use it. And what you can see in this first image is automatic detection of veins and arteries, for example, and that guides you on how to scan a patient with ultrasound. The first application we're working to solve is detection of deep vein thrombosis. Now, some context. DVT is considered to be the #1 cause of preventable hospital death in the world. It's more than breast cancer, AIDS, and car accidents combined. So it's a huge problem. And this is one of the applications which we can support with. Our solution consists of a software, literally an app. You can download it onto your phone. It's actually available on the Android store now, but let's not go too far. With a handheld compatible ultrasound device, you're able to give this technology to a nurse. The nurse can perform a scan and detect the blood clot. The images can be sent to our cloud-based solution for radiologist review if required for safety purposes. In addition to the deaths with DVT, the clinical pathway is actually quite long to get it diagnosed in the first place. So a patient will be going to the emergency department, they get risk assessed by a nurse, they do a blood test, then they have to wait, then they get an ultrasound scan by an expert, as I suggested earlier, and then they get the diagnosis. This can take 6 to 24 hours to get diagnosed. So it's quite a long time for an emergency case. However, with our technology, a patient simply walks into their GP, for example, gets scanned by the nurse, and then they can get a diagnosis immediately with radiology review, for example. So this can take as little as 15 minutes to do. Or they can walk into the hospital, as they usually do, and then they can get scanned there as well. So this completely transforms the clinical pathway. And because of this, we've actually got a huge amount of support. I mean, I'm only showing a few hospitals. We've actually got up to 20 hospitals supporting us now. We're running multi-centered clinical trials within the NHS led by Oxford University Hospital. We're running trials in Germany. We're running trials in Greece, and we're expanding into the US. We're backed by the Wellcome Trust, which is a renowned research institution. We're backed by EU funding, as well as ultrasound vendors like Clarius and others which we're talking to, but I can't say who they are just yet. From a commercial perspective, we estimate the market size for AI ultrasound to be about $7 billion, maybe more. It's actually, we're one of the few companies in the world that has AI technology to democratize it. So we not only have a large market when it comes to ultrasound already, but we expand the size of the market itself. Our business model is very simple. It's standard SaaS model, and we charge about $50,000 to $200,000 per year per institution. It just depends on the size of the hospital. In fact, we published the first health economic analysis when it comes to DVT, as well as sensitivity and specificity information in our Nature paper, which was published recently this year. And that's about it. It's obviously not just me. It's myself, my co-founder, and we're about 12 people, backed by hematologists, radiologists, ultrasonographers, etc. So we're a team of about 12 people. Now, I want you guys to join us and transform the ultrasound and change the future of medicine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fuad. That was you donated even more seconds back to the audience. Thank you so much for being very well on time. Now we are moving to the last category, digital health. We have heard a lot about digital health, the European Health Data Space, and all of that this morning. So I think it's a big rise of this category that we have seen. But we are also proud at EIT Health that we have that category since 2016, when it was not so big in the news, let's say. I'd like to welcome the three companies, AZMed from France, Brightlobe from London, and Ebenbild from Germany. And we will start with AZMed. They have developed Revolve, which detects all types of fractures on X-rays using AI algorithms. So welcome, Julien Vidal from Paris, France.
La inteligencia artificial es el futuro de la salud. What if AI could revolutionize the healthcare industry? We all heard about all the problems AI could solve, and especially in radiology. The amount of medical images has surged by 100% during the last decade, while the number of radiologists has stagnated. This is becoming unsustainable. And firstly, it seems complicated to limit the number of images produced as the world population gets older and bigger. And secondly, it takes 15 years to train a radiologist, and there's no sign we'll train more. So how can we close this gap? Well, usually, a radiologist sees something like this to diagnose a patient. At AZMed, we make sure he sees something like this, so we can go faster and be more accurate thanks to Revolve. Revolve detects any fracture and lung or cardiac abnormalities, which means 80% of all the X-rays produced. And it has concrete ROIs. All the clinical studies made in France, UK, Belgium, and most recently in 20 hospitals in the US, they all show the same thing. On average, thanks to Revolve, radiologists gain 36% of time and 20% of sensitivity. Many companies try to tackle this issue. Problem is, big players are not AI specialists, so they partner with companies like us, as we already did with almost all of them. And startups, they deeply struggle to penetrate this market and find the right entry point. At AZMed, we couldn't take this market faster, and I will show you how. In 1.5 years, we've put AI into the hands of thousands of radiologists all around the world. We are used by more than 300 hospitals, radiology centers, and clinics in 19 countries. And with our subscription model, we've generated an 80% quarterly growth since our launch. We did all of that with a very limited sales force, so I'll spend the last minutes to show you how we took this market. So let's take an example. To provide an AI solution to 3 different hospitals, a normal AI company would use a dataset to train a single algorithm and would put it in production. Problem is, the performances of this algorithm could be tremendously different from one hospital to another, depending on the machines they use, the patients they treat, or the habits they have. At AZMed, we do it a bit differently. We gathered 7 million X-rays from all around the world, not to build one single algorithm, but hundreds of them. Then, our job is to match the best algorithm for the environment of each hospital. And the best part is that we automated most of this process. So a fast go-to-market and these automatic customizations allow us to have a conversion rate above 90% and to only have raised so far $4 million. So all of that gives us the ambition to increase even more our resources and to triple our yearly revenues in the years to come. We take the market also thanks to the legal barriers we passed. Revolve has been the very first software to be CE marked in its category, and we don't have the FDA yet, but we are 90% there to become the very first company to commercialize such a product overseas. Most of all, we take the market because we know how to do it. Eli, our doctor, has spent more than 9 years in hospitals facing all the issues we are solving, and Alex, our mathematician, already applied AI to breast cancer detection and cardiac MRI. Now, more than 30 deep learning researchers, healthcare professionals, software engineers from the very best schools have joined us. So now, I want you to remember 3 takeaways today. We've built the very first software to be CE marked in its category. We found the right strategy to be used at scale. And we now have the vision to become the trusted tech partner for any doctor analyzing any medical image anywhere in the world. Thank you.
Well done, Julia. Thank you so much. Very well presented, sharp pitch. Now the next one will be Brightlobe. And Brightlobe can help to assess and support a child's neurodevelopment using clinically validated mobile games, something that I might need for my 3 kids. Now, 4 weeks ago, I got the 3rd one. Shivani Lamba from London, England. Looking forward to your presentation.
Neurodevelopmental disorders like autism and ADHD affect 15% of children across Europe and over 1 billion children in key target markets across the world. 3-year-old Maria is one of those kids. Her parents are worried. She's missed speech and language milestones. She can't seem to pay attention. Maybe it's autism, maybe it's ADHD. Maria's parents want only 2 things: to find out what's happening and to know how they can support her. And to do that, they have to follow this 10-step clinical pathway. This pathway costs healthcare providers £1,200 per patient per year. Getting a diagnosis can take 5 years. And when interventions like therapy and medication aren't introduced early enough, they have limited impact. Post-diagnosis, we have no way of knowing precisely how Maria is responding to these interventions. So this process is expensive, it's slow, and it lacks the insight that could be used to guide clinical decision-making. And it's only getting worse. Demand is rising, but the system hasn't evolved to keep up. We're going to change that. Brightlobe has created technology that can assess, monitor, and support a child's brain development across 4 domains. That's cognition, motor, language, and social and emotional skills. And it uses a device that 75% of kids already have. Here's how it works. Maria plays a mobile game designed by a team including former executives at Disney Interactive. Maria's parents report their observations through a smartphone. 3 streams of data, performance data, metadata, and observational data, are integrated to create a powerful neurodevelopmental assessment and monitoring device. It uses machine learning identified digital biomarkers to form a fingerprint of a child's neurodevelopmental status, including their strengths and their deficits, for unprecedented clinical decision support. And through this, we turn this 10-step pathway into this 6-step pathway. Families paying privately save 84% in neurodevelopmental evaluations, with results delivered in 45 minutes, not 3 hours. Healthcare systems save 68% in assessment and monitoring costs, reducing waiting times for a first appointment by up to 1 year. And clinicians receive unprecedented insight into Maria's neurodevelopment to be better able to support her. And the best part, Maria loves the experience, as do 92% of the kids involved in our usability studies. Because we've streamlined the patient journey and changed the market so significantly, we're aiming for a market share upwards of €1 billion. Revenue projections hit €80 million in 5 years post-commercialization, and to achieve this, we leverage existing research partnerships and then work our way up to major healthcare providers. Multiplying average case numbers by monthly license fee starting at $29.99 per patient generates the revenue that you're seeing here. So how have we changed the game? Well, first, we've reduced overall time and cost of assessment and monitoring. This is something that assessments published by competitors like Pearson can't do. We allow for the triaging of patients by severity of symptoms and can also monitor their response to treatment. DTX-only companies like Akili Interactive can't do this. And the high granularity clinical insight we provide enables tailored interventions and ultimately better outcomes. Our competitors' assessments aren't even regulated as medical devices, so their clinical utility is extremely limited. And that's what sets us apart. None of this would be possible without a team of experienced clinicians from institutions like Stanford and Oxford, healthcare executives from companies like Benevolent AI and Eli Lilly, and executives from companies like Disney and Lego. We've raised £1 million in grants and venture capital, which allows us to reach a significant inflection point next year. That is the technical validation of our product in a large-scale pivotal study leading to a Class 2A CE mark. And then next, we'll deploy the technology across Germany alongside Charité through DIGA, and then we'll obtain FDA 510 clearance in the US alongside 17 pediatric hospitals. So with our upcoming £2.5 million seed round, we'll finally go to market in the UK and Germany. Maria's still waiting for her diagnosis, but with Brightlobe, things could be very different for her and for 1 billion other children with the same story. We're looking for the right investors to help us revolutionize pediatric health. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivani. Thank you so much. And now we come to the last pitch. The last pitch will be provided by Ebenbild. They develop a digital twin for lung assessment to allow a personalized treatment based on AI. And with that, Kai Müller from Munich, Germany, handing over to you. The floor is yours.
It's hard to breathe with an FFP2 mask on your face, right? Now, imagine this discomfort multiplied by 1 million and you might catch a glimpse of what it is like to suffer from acute respiratory distress syndrome, or ARDS in short. Actually, you cannot breathe at all on your own. This happened to 8 million people in 2020 alone, out of which 3 million died. Of the survivors, 2 million have been suffering from chronic consequences up to this day. And ARDS can hit any one of us because there are so many causes for it. Currently, COVID-19 is very prominent, but there's also inadequate mechanical ventilation, which is tragic because each and every single patient with ARDS needs mechanical ventilation to survive. And that brings us to the core of the problem, because when you are ventilated, even the best doctor sees this: nothing. The lung is a black box to him or her, and there's no way of knowing what consequences your treatment have on the patient. And that is what we are going to change with our IP-protected technology, because Ebenbild opens up that black box and delivers exactly the information you need from deep within the lung to doctors in order to make the best possible treatment decisions for the particular patient. With our software as a service, we want to enable these decisions not just at specialist centers, but anywhere at any time. And what we do is we, for example, take medical images, combine that with additional physiological data in order to construct a so-called digital twin of that particular patient's lung. And that isn't just a mere image. It's a functional, physiological, accurate model of that patient's lung. And it provides us with the data to enable an unprecedented level of decision support, which means that doctors for the very first time have a chance of assessing the treatment options they have in their heads up front and then choose the best possible option for the particular patient. We as patients therefore recover faster and survive more often because physicians and nurses treat better, and that leads to a rise in cost efficiency at hospitals. It means that when we wake up earlier, that existing DRG mechanisms enable an up to 6,000 euros in cost savings per patient in hospitals. And that motivates directly our pricing model, which is 1,500 euros per case and 12,000 euros in an annual subscription fee per ICU, because of the cost-benefit win-win, which is immediate. We can target hospitals right away, and long-term, because of the large medical benefit, we can go for reimbursement. And Ebenbild is opening up a new segment worth 25 billion, out of which 10 billion can be attributed to the main healthcare geographies. And because we will be the standard of care in that area, we will grasp a market share of 1 billion, and I'll show you how. Through KOL hospitals, we'll be able to target large hospital groups and afterwards large healthcare providers. Through these steps, we will enable the revenues that you see here. Next up are several challenging steps, out of which the most important one is a large multi-center study, which will get us to approval in the EU and the US. To this end, we have already raised over 4 million euros in funding and are continuing to do so because the story is bigger. What we're going to do is to go into different pathologies and indications in the lung. We already venture into different business areas, actually, because we support biotech and digital trials of the lung and drug delivery. And in the long run, we'll go for different organs. Obviously, this wouldn't be possible without a very exceptional team of top-notch doctors, ERC Advanced Grant winners, and business experts who are backed by the who is who of German intensive care. Now, in the future, if you suffer from ARDS and are mechanically ventilated, rest assured that our digital twin of your lung will have your back in one of the most suffocating situations of your life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Kai. Thanks again for a great pitch. And now I would like to ask you to give a big round of applause again for these amazing entrepreneurs. Very, very well done. And I really love the spirit, the dedication that you gave to your topics, to your companies, and also the emphasis that you put on the impact on society. Thanks again also for the jury. You guys now had a very hard time to catch up with all your scores that you have to provide. We will meet in a few seconds, actually, at room 507 in the 4th floor to have the consensus meeting. I'd like to also remind everyone that the 12 finalists who are not on stage can be met at their poster stands up there in the catering area. It's important that everyone keeps in mind before you grab your first cup of coffee and then get into conversations. You have 10 minutes left for the audience award, so please stay seated, remain seated, enter Slido and put in Catapult Award, or just scan that picture. Please pick your favorite company, pick your favorite startup, because then, only then, they will get on the New York Times Square. And with that, I'd like to just invite you to the awarding ceremony at 5:30, back here again with Andreas Rüsch, with Martin Kern, Ilva Williams, Christina Rieber, and Hakan Sjögren to announce the winners. Till then, I hand over to Anja. Thank you so much for an amazing session. Thank you. Thanks to the entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kurt, and thank you all very much. What an amazing pitches. So difficult to choose, such worthy causes, and well done, all of you. So really great. Thank you. Right, it's time now, when you've done your voting, for a quick coffee break, and then at quarter to 3, quarter to 3, it'll be time for the breakout sessions, and they are going to be in the bioclinical building, so you need to allow about 5 minutes to get there. So thank you very much, everyone, and make your way when you've done your voting. Thank you.